I think I am dangerous in Survivor. You don't find a guy who looks like me be super unsuspecting. I want to be the glue guy. Every sports team knows what a glue guy is. They're not the best on the team. They're not the worst on the team. They find their way somewhere in the middle, but somehow the team just doesn't function the same without them.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the brand new episode of The Survivor Effect. We have Survivor 47's Sam Phalen with us. Sam, what's going on, man?
Oh man, just living the dream, enjoying life after Survivor, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But excited to be here. I have to say off the bat, I'm going to start with a compliment, Aaron, because I get asked to do like a decent number of podcasts and stuff, and I'm happy to do as many as I can. Sometimes they can become a little bit of a chore, and when I read your description of what you wanted to do here and what you wanted to talk about, I really appreciated the uniqueness of it and the kind of like distinction that it took. I'm very excited to sit down and talk with you about some of this stuff, and I just wanted to give you that compliment off the bat because I think it does highlight some of the aspects of the reality TV world and the Survivor world and some of the questions that people don't ask very often. And so I think it's cathartic to talk about and good for anybody who is just a fan of the show or wants to go on the show to kind of understand what some of the things that they don't see on TV are.
Absolutely. You said that so beautifully. And I honestly thank you so much for that compliment because that really does mean a lot. I've seen there's lots of Survivor type content out there, right? But like nothing like this, right? So basically, right. I created this podcast series, right, to build a community of people who not just love Survivor, but actually want to understand what it really does to a person. And, it's all about digging into how the game messes with you physically, mentally, emotionally, through the stories of people who have actually lived it, like yourself. And I had Gabe on last week, and I'll talk more about your cast, dude, is just the best, man. I'm just going to say it.
Dude, it's a really special group. I felt very blessed to, some people that I like didn't always have the best like game chemistry within it, but like I think a big part of the experience that can make just a more positive Survivor experience for any player is a group of castmates that are able to kind of leave the game stuff in the game and try to help each other the most outside of it. So I mean, it's a fun group to hang out with. It's a great group to get support from, and all wickedly talented people in their own right. So it's been such a blessing outside of the game to be with this particular group of people who have made it a much more positive experience that I still I miss them all the time and try to spend as much time with them as possible.
I know I see pictures of you guys all over social media. I just love seeing that you guys are still just sticking close.
It's rare. Some groups come out of it and they just like are able to move past the game. And then you don't see that. And I do often feel very bad for the people who don't feel like they have a connection with their cast, because it, like, as we're going to talk about tonight, there's a lot that you go through and a lot that's very difficult, and it can be exceptionally hard if you don't have people with shared experiences. And so I think that sort of speaks to why the Survivor community has sort of developed into a community in like more modern era than it was in the past, because I think when you are casting more people that are such big fans of the show, they want to be involved and they want to support the other people going through it. And the people who understand it best are other people who have lived it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start off from the beginning, right? So what made you decide to apply in the first place, and what was happening in your life at that time?
Yeah. For me, I had always wanted to apply for Survivor. I loved the show from when I was a kid. It was sort of a family thing for us to sit down on Thursdays or Wednesdays or whenever it was airing at the time to watch. And it was just something that I told myself I was going to do. And for the longest time, it sort of existed in my head as a future thing. It was a weird motivating factor for me. I'd go to the gym, and when I would be lifting weights, for whatever reason in my head, I'd be telling myself, gotta get in shape for when Jeff calls and I get that chance on Survivor. Or I would do dumb stuff like hold my breath getting on an elevator and try to hold my breath for as long as possible for that one time that I do last gasp on Survivor. So it was just kind of this nagging thing in my brain of like someday I'm going to do this, but I never really felt like I had the proper motivation, or it didn't feel right. I would look in the mirror and say, why are they going to cast me? Like, there's nothing exceptional about me. There's nothing exceptional going on in my life. I don't have any reason to stand out, even though I believed in my ability if I did get a shot. And so it really wasn't until I believe it was the fall of 2023. I was a year and a half removed from college at the time. I was 23. I was working in the NFL as a beat reporter for the Tennessee Titans. And I had already had like a year and a half of experience, and I had started to gain a lot of traction in the Nashville sports media scene. And I was sitting down at the couch one day. I was getting my roommate, my like out of college roommate, into Survivor. So I would show him episodes, make him watch Survivor 45 with me on Wednesday nights. And I was sitting there one day, and yeah, great season. And Jeff does his new era thing, right? He points at the camera, says, "Do you think you could do this? Come out here, apply to be on Survivor." And I had been so irritated watching the beginning of season 45, and you see two people quit in the pre-merge, and something about that really like upset me, really got a fire going. And so hearing Jeff say apply, I think made me sort of look in the mirror and think, I feel like I have some stuff now that I could talk about in an audition video. I feel pretty proud of some of the accomplishments in my life. And I think I've gained life experiences that would help prepare me for the show. And so I finally got enough confidence and kind of figured out what my angle was going to be, so to speak, of my audition video. And I pulled out my phone one Sunday at Nissan Stadium, like in the end zone of the Titans stadium after a game, and recorded walking on the field. And that was my audition.
That's a pretty unique point. That's really cool. I like that.
I did a lot of studying. Yeah, I did a lot of studying. I watched a couple of videos on like how to make a good Survivor.
Got to stand out.
Yeah, I took notes on what I thought would be helpful. And like, I definitely wanted to do some sort of a cold open. I understood, right? The people who watch my video they're going to watch it. Like, believe me, if you've ever applied for Survivor and you've submitted a video, somebody has watched your video. They don't just let submissions sit in the discard bin.
Yeah.
Sometimes they watch the whole 2 to 3 minutes of it. Sometimes they turn it off in 10 seconds. And I was determined to make sure that they got more than 10 seconds into the video. And so I wanted to create some sort of a punch off the bat that made them pause and sit down for a minute and let me get into my spiel.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying to you earlier off cam, I'm also, applying to be on Survivor, and I really hope it happens. But in my audition video, well, it was actually the second video, because the first one I did, dude, I just got way too excited, and I was just like,
hey,
and I watched it back, and I'm like, I'm just rambling things off. I'm like, I'm this, I'm that, I do this, and I do that, and I'm like, oh my god. So I, like you, did a ton of research. Like, I'm just looking at everybody else's audition videos, like people who have been on, and also people who haven't been on. And I'm like, like you with the end zone thing, I'm like, I need something that's going to make me stick out. So I went in the woods, right? I live on a property of like 8 or 10 acres. And I went out in the woods, propped up. I have a really nice camera, and I do some stupid YouTube video making. But
hey, it's not stupid. Come on now.
I mean, right. I shouldn't say stupid. You know what? Thank you.
Give yourself some credit. Let's go.
That. I appreciate that. Dude, yes. So I set it up on a tripod, right? And I'm like, set it up like the scene looks exactly like a confessional, like from Survivor.
Oh,
just greenery, foliage. I even threw up, like the day 24s, the specific Survivor font style, like with my name up there. I'm like, listen, hopefully it works. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you do have the right idea, though. When people ask me for my audition advice, the best thing I can tell anybody, like aside from like the corny stuff, like be energetic, be yourself, yada yada, I tell people to tell a story. And the reason for that is because what you did in your video is actually exactly what the casting producers do when they watch it. They sit there and they ask themselves, can I see this person on a beach giving me a confessional, telling me what they're going to do? And if you can sort of pick up on aspects of their personality and how they tell stories and translate that into how is this person going to play the game, that's what they find very interesting. And so, a lot of people think, like, obviously the new era trope, right, is like, oh, you have to have a sob story to get on Survivor. I don't think that's true at all. I don't have any sort of like traumatic life experience in the past. And for a while, I thought that would prohibit me from getting on the show. But what I realized is that it's not the sob story or like this crazy life story that gets people on the show. It's the ability to tell that story in a way that's interesting. And so whether it's some epic life experience or something really tragic that you've been through, or just a weird thing that happened to you at the grocery store the other day, your ability to sit there and look at a camera and talk to somebody and have them say like, oh, I get who this person is and I want to see more from them. That's kind of what a producer's lens looks like when they watch a video. And that's what they're, thinking about when they're casting.
Yeah, you answered that perfectly. It's really, just it sounds, I know it's the most cliche advice you could have, but just be yourself and whatever that is. But be yourself, but like on crack, or like, like you've just had like 14 coffees or energy drinks. Like
definitely
just an exaggerated version. But
you have to ham it up a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. That was a really good question. All right, let's move on. So did you have any fears about how you might be perceived on national TV?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I think that's natural. Both game wise and personally, I would say, I did know like I'm a hyper competitive person. I have a ton of I don't know. I was very afraid of like losing my temper at a challenge or having some sort of thing go wrong and not being able to keep my cool around people. And so composure was a word that I kept telling myself a lot when I was out there, of just trying to like stay composed at all times, because it is a social game more than anything else, 24/7. But then also like I kind of have this streak to my personality as well, that I'm an achiever and I really want to be respected and do well at everything that I do.
You and I are like the same person. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a person. I don't know if you know much about the Enneagram, but it's a personality type on the Enneagram. That like, I just have this sort of streak in me that if I'm going to do something, I want to be the very best at it. I don't care if I'm liked all the time. I just want to be respected. And I did have this fear that I would go out there and live this lifelong dream and, it wouldn't go how I wanted it to go. And I wouldn't get the respect that I was hoping to get. One of my favorite moments and lines actually of the entire show is right at the beginning in the premiere, when John Lovett is on the starting mat and he says to Jeff, many of us have pictured in our heads for the longest time what we would play like. And right now we're about to be confronted with the reality of what we will play like. And that's a very heavy realization when the game starts, is that all of this dreaming that I had done for years, all of those moments in the gym where I said, oh, I'm going to be a challenge beast and I got to do this for that one time when I get my shot. When your shot is sitting there, staring you in the face, there's no more what ifs or imagining. It's just what you do. So I definitely had fear about like, what if I don't do as well as I want to do and I don't get that respect, and how will that eat at me if it doesn't live up to my expectations that I've had for so long.
I love that. And I love that you said you didn't want to be liked. You just want to be respected. That's really deep. I like that.
It's a different, I think it's a different headspace for people. And I think that's what, I think people wrestle with that a lot. And it was one thing I talked about in casting, was this idea of, I don't care what people think about me. And I thought I believed that, before going on the show. I really did. And then, you sort of see things on social media and I realized, oh, I do care. But I was never bothered if somebody said, Sam's an asshole, or that like, I really don't like this guy. I don't mind his personality. What I took personally was when people started to question my competence. And when I stopped being respected by people at something that I cared a lot about being good at, that is what I would let bother me. And so I think people that play the game are different. And some people take things personally because they're like, oh, I don't have any fans. Nobody supports me. Nobody likes me. And then other people, I think, are less, just care less about that and put it somewhere else.
It's definitely a self-confidence thing,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, nobody wants to just hear people talking shit about them all over social media.
Sure.
Know?
Oh, it's harder than you realize it is. And like, and I know I came with some thick skin, like working. That was one thing that I did think I brought to the game with me, was when you work in sports and sports media and you put your face and your opinions and your take, like sports fans are nasty, man.
Yeah.
So like I'd go out there if I had a take somebody didn't like, you get criticized on social media all the time. And
Absolutely.
I never found it to be hurtful when somebody said, I don't like the show or I don't like your writing. I found it hurtful when somebody would question my intelligence about something. And that was that translated to Survivor as well.
Right. Absolutely. Awesome. You kind of touched on this. I mean, I know you were training, right? You hit the gym.
Yeah.
But did you study any past seasons? Would you consider yourself, a super fan?
Yeah. I didn't really like go out of my way to study. I felt like I had the requisite knowledge to go out there. Like I'm a everyday watcher, rewatch seasons all the time. I listen to the podcasts and I certainly did listen to the podcast a lot more before playing as well, and just kind of think about the different variations of strategy. So I did feel okay strategically going into the game. I changed some of my gym habits before going out. I stopped doing a lot of heavy weightlifting and started doing a lot of yoga. Tried to work on some cardio. I swam a lot. It was a lot of like core and yoga and swimming and things that I thought would be more applicable to Survivor challenges than just like weightlifting, because I was trying to, some of those challenges are just weird. It's not even about being strong.
They are, yeah. It's about endurance and like some of them are about endurance, but like some of them are just, I feel like, about the ability to just withstand like a certain amount of pain. Like what is it? The one you didn't have any of those?
I wish we had more of those.
I can't remember.
Did
you have last gasp on your season? I can't remember.
No, we didn't. Most of our individual challenges were puzzles and like balance based. There was a lot of stuff like that. Which I know
you did. You did the same challenges last night's episode, 49 episode 3.
Yes,
you did that.
Yep, we have done that. I think there's been a few repeats that like we've done, obviously, that I've already seen on 49. We did the snake thing that was on episode 2 for 49 as well.
I remember that.
But yeah, our individuals, I was kind of waiting for the opportunity to get one of those like pain tolerance, just endurance challenges. We didn't have too many of those, but those are my favorite ones. Like that's my favorite.
The one where you hold, like, you're curling and you have to hold the thing up.
Yes. The one that I was itching to do, the number one challenge that I wanted to do. We actually did have it on my season, but not everybody got to participate. It's famous from Survivor Tocantins from Coach versus JT, but it's the foot pedestals on the outside of the wooden walls, and you stand between
Gabe
wooden walls, right? Like this. Yeah, Gabe won it on my season, and it was the one I was dying to do, but it was at the end of it was like the multi-stage challenge where you were paired up with a partner. So Andy and I got eliminated before we got to that stage, and I was just devastated because that was my one that I dreamed about doing.
Oh, maybe you might be back out there someday.
Yeah,
shot.
Yeah, that would be that would be awesome. If I get back out there, I'm definitely gonna win in the Unity Challenge or two. I'm not going home without a necklace this time.
Yeah. So what about, before you left for Fiji, was there anyone in your life, who in your life grounded you the most? Who's your number one? I'm going to take a guess here and say your wife.
Yeah, she was my fiance at the time.
Right.
But I think certainly the thing that helped me the most was she would help give me a kick in the butt and have a little bit of confidence. And just, I had a bunch of notes in my journal and a letter that she wrote me before I left that I kept in my journal that I had for pregame. So that 5-6 day pregame cycle where you're just sitting there in your own head constantly. I would read notes, read affirmations, like get myself hyped up. But I think the biggest thing for me was trying to circumvent that fear that we talked about. And this is a really fascinating thing that I struggled with. Getting on the show was such an accomplishment for me. Like it was so big. I could not have been more excited about it. I couldn't have been more nervous about it. And I couldn't wait to tell people in my life. And so you're limited on who you can share the information with, but like my fiance's family, my parents, my brother, I have one best friend who like loves Survivor. And I told him before I went out there, and I was so excited to share that with these people. And so I had this sort of fear in my head about not even falling short of my own expectations, but letting people down. And there was this idea that everybody's going to be so excited for you. They're going to be so excited to watch with you. If I get voted off, 2-3 episodes in, and I don't even really like play the game how I want to play the game, how disappointed is everybody going to be? And that was a heavy burden for me. I wrestled with it a lot emotionally before the game started, and I found it paralyzing at times. And so one of the things that my fiance did and some of the stuff that she wrote down that really helped me stay grounded was to understand that this was something that I was doing for me and not for anybody else. Like, this was my dream. This was something that I wanted to achieve. And whether I won the $1 million or was the first person voted out, I was going to go back to the same family, the same friends. They were going to love me the same and be just as excited about one episode as they would be 14. And so trying to get that in my head and understanding that and being able to accept that, I think gave me a little bit of freedom to play and to understand that it was okay and that my identity as Sam Phalen and my life was not tied up into how well I did on Survivor, good or bad. Because as Survivor players will tell you, and certainly players that have been further removed from this game than I am at this point, just over a year out from it airing right now, life moves on. Survivor moves on. The world moves on. We're a year later and we're 2 seasons deep, and people don't even remember the names of people that were on my cast. They don't remember my face. And so life moves on. And so good, bad, whatever, you can't have your level of self-value and self-worth be tied to this thing. Once I was able to internalize that and accept that, I was playing with house money.
Absolutely. You said that really well. And, I think that's just one of the struggles that we all deal with. Because if you're a real Survivor fan, right, and the show, no one wants to go there and be the first voted out or the second or the third even. So, but like you said, the fact that this was your dream and you crushed it, you did it, man. Like, dream complete.
And that was part of what I there's actually a scene. It was a deleted scene that's out there as one of the cropped scenes from the finale. A confessional that I sort of had, really emotional confessional, cried the whole time. I did that for the last couple days out there. It was just very I felt very romantic about the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this feeling of hey, I'm one step away. I really desperately want to win the game, and I know that I can do it. And, I had to wrestle with that idea of coming up short of my ultimate goal, which was winning the game, but also feeling fulfilled by the idea that I did damn near everything that I wanted to do when I set out here. And if you would have told the 6-year-old me that wanted to go on Survivor, or even the guy that was sitting at Ponderosa a month ago freaking out about not letting people down, to make it this far, to see as much as I saw, to do and accomplish as much as I did, there's a lot of achievement to be really proud of there. And so a very fulfilling full experience, and then you are left with a little bit of that taste of I got a little bit more to do, because I would have loved to win the game as well.
Yeah, it's all right. You've just got some unfinished business.
Yeah, stay hungry, right?
Exactly. All right, so how do you think you balanced wanting to be authentic with knowing authenticity can make you vulnerable? Could be the thing that gets you voted out.
Yeah. I kind of don't think I planned to be very authentic. I don't think that was the plan going out there. I thought I could sort of charm people and, put on a good face and just make friends. And then I think the game kind of hits you in the face and teaches you that you can't really do that, vulnerability is truly the way to connect with people. And when these people are your entire life, you don't really have any other options. It truly is one of the things about the show that I wish could come through the screen to a viewer. And it's just time. People don't understand how much time is in these days, when the minute the sun cracks at 6 a.m., you wake up because it wakes you up and you've got really no other choice. And you're not even really sleeping well throughout the night. These are long nights. They feel like days, how long you're just sitting there looking up at a pitch black sky. And the days themselves, I remember the very first day of the game. They wake you up at 3 a.m. You go out on a boat when it's still pitch black. The sun rises as we're like filming our intro boat shot. By early morning, we're sitting there doing a marooning with Jeff. We do this early challenge. We go back to our camp. We do introductions. We clean off. We work on the shelter. And then it feels like we are exhausted. We're all ready for bed. And you kind of look up at the sun. You realize it's not even noon yet. It's not even 12. And your brain starts to contemplate how that's real, and you tell yourself, oh, this is so long, because in our lives now, we've got phones and internet and distractions that kind of make time just tick mindlessly. And when all of that is stripped down and you have nothing to do but sit there and talk to people, the hours feel like days and the conversations become very real very quickly. And so I kind of went in with this idea of have this facade, trick people, vote them out, get them out of here. And by day 2, by day 3, it was like, you've got no choice but to be very authentic. And honestly, I think it could have been a flaw of my game that I do think post-merge, especially, there were some people that I didn't have full vulnerable conversations with. And it can make them more hesitant to work with you, to, just want to vote for you at the end of the game because they don't feel like they know you all the way.
Yeah. And then, but that's a tricky line, right? Because if you're too like nice and close with literally everyone, they're going to be dude, this guy's got to go.
Well, it's impossible, right? Like I do remember the merge, like the very first day of the merge, I sat down with Kyle and I had about, a hour-long conversation, 45-minute conversation with Kyle, whatever. Very quickly became a very real, vulnerable conversation. We hit it off right away. And, I come to find out a couple days later, had it confirmed after the game entirely. But it was like, as soon as I wrapped up this conversation with Kyle, he's going up to somebody else being like, he's got to go. That guy was way too personable. We got to vote him out. And so, that is what the game is. It's like it's a lose-lose situation. You don't bond with anybody, you go home. You bond too well with people, you're too threatening, and you go home. And Survivor's all about trying to find that perfect line to make sure that you can get to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some things that suck, right? Everyone talks about the hunger, the rain, the paranoia, but what's the one thing that affected you most? Not necessarily, doesn't have to be physical, just anything. What did you struggle with the most, would you say?
Yeah. So it goes back to the time thing that I brought up. But more specifically than that, I think it's just the idea that you can never turn your brain off. And so in your regular life, you're able to talk to people that you trust. You're able to talk to people that have no reason to lie to you, to betray you. You talk to people that love you. You talk to people that don't love you, but you understand the dynamic of the relationship, and it's just two normal human beings interacting. And when you're playing the game of Survivor, you have to understand that nobody is interested in your best interest. And once that becomes apparent to you, when you realize everybody else is playing the game for them and they don't care if you do well or not, every conversation becomes a chore. And so I would just remember waking up, and even on a day or a night that I would sleep pretty well, and my body would hit a point where the hunger pains didn't really exist, and I was sort of numb to it all. I could deal with the elements. I was fine. I could have been out there 50 days. You wake up one morning and you realize I have to go talk to somebody, and it just is this feeling of like, I would rather do anything in the world but sit here and talk to this person, and not just talk to them. I have to be nice. I have to be energetic. I have to give them, emotional cues and affirmations and reassurance, and I have to dig for information. And when I'm getting that information, I have to log it and remember it and fact check it with other pieces of information. So every conversation just feels exhausting. And I think that social aspect of never truly being able to turn your brain off and just chill for a minute, it is what wore on me the most throughout the game.
That's one thing I am very hesitant about for when I get out there, because at this point I'm saying when I get out there, not if. Like, I'm making it happen.
There we go.
I'm making it happen. And honestly, listen, this is gonna sound crazy, a little bit off topic here, but I've just had some like really weird like coincidences that make this feel like fate. And I know that probably sounds corny, but like, tell me how weird this is. I was scrolling. Do you know Reddit?
Oh yeah.
Are you on Reddit? Oh yeah. Okay, you're on
Reddit. I'm not on Reddit. I lurk Reddit.
That's kind of like me.
To search for Survivor stuff. Pretty much only that. But yeah.
So I was scrolling through I was on the Survivor subreddit, and I had made a post that was like, hey, I'm gonna apply, blah blah blah, whatever. And I was like, I have the name of someone very famous. That's all I said. I think I said it was a man, but I said I share the same name as someone really famous or something like that. And then some dude commented like a couple hours later and was like, all right, well, when Aaron Rodgers shows up on the show, I'll know like what's up or something. And I'm like, what? What are the chances of that? Yeah, but like my name like isn't in my username or anything. So like where'd this guy pull? That's kind of weird.
We got a stalker online, apparently.
I guess, because I'm like, my name is not in my
Survivor fans can find anything. That's a fun fact for you. They can find anything.
Oh, I love it. All right. So was there a moment when you realized the game you thought you'd play wasn't the game you were actually playing? And you kind of, you touched on this earlier when you said everyone, and like the quote that John Lovett said, which I love, by the way. I remember when they clipped that and showed it in the edit, and it was like the game that you could be and would be, but and then you're actually like, it was just kind of funny and silly, but so true. Like,
oh yeah.
And so I guess you kind of already answered that question, because like you have a game that you wanted to play, but that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think the first moment that I realized that would have been probably right after Sierra got voted out right after the merge, the final 11. I sort of had this idea of how I would play the game, and I knew that people would be somewhat threatened by me off the bat, but that I thought I could disarm them. I thought that, like I said, that I could charm them, that I could get people to want to ride with me. And I thought I could hide my threat level. That was my biggest mistake, I think, was, or I guess something I didn't account for, is I thought I would sort of be able to get to the merge and do this sort of like, oh, I'm just sort of like a, sports bro kind of a guy, and that people wouldn't be super threatened by me, and that I could take advantage of it, get enough, wiggle room at the merge and, rocket fuel, go to the end. But when it's too late for them to take me out. And after Sierra got voted out, I was like, okay, well, they took out Sierra. They made a mistake. They left me in the game. Let's go make them pay for it.
I remember when you were saying that in your edit, you're like, that's it, I'm coming.
Oh, well, it was, yeah, they honestly, they toned it down a little bit. I was very angry in that confessional. And I was like, wow. Yeah, they just made a mistake. They left the wrong one in the game. And so I'm going to make them pay. And I was ready to go. And that whole day I was just like, kind of social pariah. Like nobody really was going to talk to me about anything real, because I was labeled big threat, right? He's got to go. He's the next one out. And I sort of realized in that moment, like, oh, you didn't mask your threat level quite like you thought you were going to. You weren't going to play this super stealthy, sneaky, under the radar game and then jump out and surprise people and boom, awesome win. And that realization hit me that like, hey, if we're going to do this, if we're going to get to the end, we're going to have to go scrappy underdog time. Like we're going to have to acknowledge the reality, face it head on, tell people like, yeah, I'm a threat, but here's why you shouldn't vote me out anyway, and try to just see if we can bulldoze our way to the end kind of. So it didn't go as well as I hoped. I never really imagined like, hey, I'd be trying to play from the bottom alliance and like trying to come up with 3-2-2 vote splits to survive every tribal council and just kind of like dodging.
Yeah, I mean, you wrote the bottom for a while.
I mean, I got like 3 votes at every post-merge tribal council. My name was coming up, and I was just trying to like stave off elimination and rally just enough votes to survive. And that's not exactly how I saw it going, but I figured I had to play a much more aggressive back half of the game because I wasn't able to stay under the radar like I hoped I would be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really like this question. What is something you did that didn't make the show's edit, but you thought was important to your story? And then secondly, was there anyone from your season who got a weird edit? I asked Gabe this question last week, and he his answer to the second part, he said he didn't really think anybody from your season got a weird edit. He said like all you guys kind of got like a pretty accurate, good edit,
I would say, like, I actually say that one person who I don't think got a good enough edit was Gabe actually himself. I think Gabe on the show, they sort of show his mind very well. They show, hey, he's a great speaker. He can talk to Jeff. He can talk to these other people. They kind of show him to be this domineering figure. Like, he's very aggressive. And that's because Gabe talks a big game in his confessionals. He talks a big game about himself. And so you see this guy and you think, oh, he's very like egotistical. He's very brash. And it's sort of confusing how he has so many people doing what he wants. Like, how are Sue and Caroline doing what Gabe wants them to do at every tribal council? Why is nobody wanting to come after him? And I think what doesn't show is just how like lovable Gabe was, how goofy he was around camp, and how good of a social player he was. I don't think there was anybody there that was like, I don't like Gabe. Everybody was glued to him. And that was a big part of why he was able to get so much power, which is what made him so dangerous that he needed to be voted out. But I don't think that came through on the screen. I don't think you got to see that like very, very hilarious and lovable side of Gabe. So that would definitely be.
He took your glue guy thing. I remember you saying, you're like, I'm going to be the glue guy, the guy that, everyone wants to keep around. Well, and then that turned into
well, he certainly was of the Tuku tribe, and that was the reason why I wanted him out at the time of the game when I did, is because, you sort of had Kyle very publicly beefing with Sue, and you knew that the two of them didn't really like each other, and Caroline and Kyle didn't get along very well. And so you saw like all these fractures that are going on within Tuku, and yet there's this voting block of 4 and they haven't voted apart yet. We're at final 9 and they voted together every single time. And so you sort of identify that and realize that, if you take Gabe out of the equation and Gabe is no longer there, Kyle has no more ties to Sue and Caroline. Sue and Caroline have no more ties to Kyle. They might not even have ties to each other if they feel like they both need to go and make a move. And so taking Gabe out definitely sort of removed the glue that was Tuku, and created like 3 free agents to play with, which for somebody like me who at that time was on the bottom and like looking for allies, that was as good of a scenario possible because it freed up more people that are willing to vote with me. But yeah, I think Gabe's personality didn't really show. As far as my edit is concerned, I do feel fortunate. Like I had the most confessionals of the season. They showed a lot of my story, and I'm very aware that like people don't have that luxury all the time. So I'm super appreciative of it. I do think a lot of my strategic game might not have been shown. Like the biggest one that's pretty well documented now, but like I would say 2 things actually. So one of them would be like Operation Italy. That was something
dude.
Yeah, something that I was really proud of, and like really proud of my part in it. And it was something that I did very intentionally when I won that reward challenge. My selections were very intentional. The way that I spoke to the people on the reward was intentional. It was because that was the vote that I had in mind and the move that I wanted to do. So I was kind of disappointed that didn't make it. And then just some of like the strategic maneuvering I did. But the other one would also be my relationship with Genevieve, which, we saw a little bit of it really towards like the end of the season. You kind of see her and I as this duo that's on the bottom together. And that was true, but we also really hit it off right at the merge. I kind of credit Genevieve a lot for being one of the reasons I didn't go home at the tribal council that Sierra went home, because Genevieve was one person who didn't really want me out and wanted me to stay. And I felt like that was a relationship that really mattered to me in the game. And some of those conversations didn't make the air. One of them is a deleted scene of the moment where I tell Genevieve that I am going to vote her out and betray her. And it's kind of like a very deep emotional moment between the two of us. And that didn't make the final cut either. So some of that stuff I wish people would have gotten to see, because they were some of the more meaningful moments for me and my story out there.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And that's actually another reason why I kind of wanted to put this series together, is because I did the math. It's like 99% of an episode is not shown.
Yeah.
Like there's literally 1% of that entire time frame
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, when you have 24 hours of footage all the time and it's like 3-day cycles, 2-day cycles, whatever, of like, an episode, there's a lot of conversations that are had. There's a lot of conversations that you don't even necessarily mean. And like sometimes it can be taken out of context. And I'm not like somebody who's bitter to Survivor editors at all. They do such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job. And you have to understand, and this is what players don't understand when they go into the game, is that we're not here to watch your story. We're here to watch the story of 18 people. And so the reality to you might not be the reality to everybody else there. And it might not be the reality that's shown on TV, but I think they do their best to tell something that is closest to being accurate to what actually happened, while also adding entertainment, while also factoring in like, it's no secret they want you to be happy with who won the season every single time, and the show is going to be shown in a way that they want you to watch it and go, I'm glad, I'm happy with what we just saw on TV. And so like people don't realize that when they get off the show, that is the objective of these 13,
it's a story
episodes of TV, and it's a story, and it's not always your story. And so like that's something that's important to remind yourself as well, because it does happen. Obviously, like things can be taken out of context. You didn't mean it that way. They didn't show this relationship. They didn't show why I did that or why I said that to this person. And I think if you're honest with yourself most of the time, it didn't matter. Like it didn't matter. And there's probably a reason they showed it the way they showed it at the end of the day.
Yeah. My story of finding Survivor actually, and by the way, if you're still here, thank you. And, drop us a subscribe and a like. Sam, I've been having so much fun, man. This is
dude, me too. This is
incredible.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
But my story, so I actually just I wouldn't say found out about Survivor. So I'm 30, almost 4 years old. And, I always saw Survivor on TV growing up. Like I didn't watch it, but like, I knew it was around. I knew it was a reality show. I wasn't into reality TV shows. So, I never watched it. And then life goes on. I'll spare the whole story, but I got married and then I got divorced. Got back together with a girl I went to college with. We now have 2 kids, beautiful children. And one day I was changing my daughter Gia's diaper in the living room and the TV was off. So I was like, I just need something to like put, on TV, like for background noise. And I'm scrolling through TV and I see Survivor and I'm just like, this show is still on. Like what? So I just threw it on and I'm like, and I had never really watched it, but it was your season. And it was one of the immunity challenges. And it was like Kyle's, like, I don't know, 3rd win or something. Yeah. And he started just talking about his story and like, the fact that he had been through 26 different foster homes by the time I was like, what? Like this dude has been through it. And, me and everything I've been through, like divorce and just like, that's just one thing, it's just like, I don't know, man. That's one of those, that night I'm like, I feel like I need to play this game. I want to play this game. It's so crazy how you just stick 18 strangers on an island and like they have nothing and they all have to just survive and vote somebody out, but like they're also trying to be their friend. Like it's just crazy. But so I long story short, this happened only like 7 or 8 months ago. So I've only been like, I'd say I'm a super fan, but I'm a new super fan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that is that's magic of Survivor that I think people, and that has been a huge joy for me as a lifelong fan, right? As somebody who loves this game and the game design and the show and the social dynamics and that like has just grown obsessed with it over the years. Going on the show had a lot of people in my life that had never watched the show before start to watch the show, and they would talk to me. They're like, whoa, I love this. Like, this is so good. And now I have friends that are like texting me, watching old seasons for the very first time, getting introduced to Survivor characters for the very first time. And I get to see them discover this thing that I love, which is really fun. And it's exactly what you talked about that has, I think, kept me so into it for all these years is the, like, I'm a competitive person. Like I said, I was an athlete. I also have this sort of creative side to me. I did theater. I had a lot of different like interests, but they were real deep interest. When I was in something, I was in something. And Survivor has always been, I think, like the culmination of all of those things. It sort of is theater because it's lying and putting on a performance and being theatrical, and it's, you know, physical and grueling, but it's also very strategic and conniving and like and, you know, using your brain and intelligence. And so to me, I'm like, this is a game, but it's the ultimate game. It's the ultimate competition. It's the ultimate test. And then there's the human element that throws a massive curveball into all of it and makes it so unpredictable. And that's why 49 seasons here now, we're like still going strong.
That's my favorite part.
Like still
the human element,
new episodes. Yeah. And that human element of your story out there, of other people's stories and how they got out there, I think that's a real curveball for players. It really wasn't. I thought to myself before I went out there, like, hey, no problem, man. Like, hey, business trip. Let's go. Like, let's send these people packing. And then I sit there and I talk to Kyle, and I have that same conversation with Kyle, and he tells me his story just like he did to Jeff that one day. And then I have to go sit there and think to myself, am I really about to like just absolutely break this dude's heart and blindside him and cut his throat? And you realize all the people that I have sitting at home counting on me and wanting to deliver for them. And then you realize that everybody else that's out there has those people at home for them too. And, you know, you're not just voting this person off and ending their game, you're killing their dream. And you're by proxy disappointing the people that are waiting at home for them. And wrestling with that as a player is more difficult than I think you can realize until you're doing it. And it's what makes the game so incredibly hard, but what makes it so magnetic to watch and to deal with. And I know people can complain about some of the, I guess, softness of Survivor nowadays, but like I even watched that episode 3 of season 49, spoilers. But like after Jake is medically evacuated and I sit there and I watch his tribe mates wrestle with it, and also know that like now the three of us as a team, we have to go and win this for Jake, and they give it their all and they come up short, and how emotionally draining that is, and the other tribes feel it, and like it punches me in the gut in a way that I'm like, yes, more of it, give me another episode. And so it's not surprising when I see people that don't know the show and watch an episode for the first time, and if they see a good one, they're just in, because Survivor is one of those shows that can make you laugh, it can make you cheer, it can make you cry, all in the same episode, and it'll get you good.
Yeah, I love watching people just fall in love with a TV show. It doesn't have to be Survivor, but like it's especially nice when it's Survivor, but like
it's a joy to show somebody something for the first time that you love. And like that's always a fun experience.
Absolutely. And like you and I are very similar. It's crazy. Like I mentioned the competitiveness, like I'm the same way. Like I don't care what we're playing. If I'm not winning or about to win, I don't want to play. No, but seriously,
no, I say that. I say I don't do stuff I'm not good at. Like if I know I'm bad at something, I do not do it. I played soccer once in like high school and like tripped on the ball and sprained my ankle. I have not played soccer since because I'm not good at it. I'm not about to embarrass myself. Absolutely
soccer sounds like the worst. You just run. That field is so big and you're just running constantly. Ugh.
I'm bad at it, so I no chance.
But yeah, I'm competitive. I also was in theater. So that was cool. And I know you were in theater, you know, from your intro and whatnot. I was actually Danny Zuko in Greece. Shout out.
Oh, there we go.
High school. Yeah.
Yeah. That's big time.
Oh man, it was fun. I loved it a lot. And like, I'm kind of worried. I'm like, I know I can lie. Like I can act like, and I'm kind of scared though at like what I could do with that. You know what I mean?
It's
but like you said, but then you have to look yourself in the mirror, not until you get off the island, obviously, and like know that you killed somebody's dream.
It's so fun in the moment until like literally until you're at tribal council. Like sitting there and you're like lying to somebody and you feel like you got the game, and you feel like you've got this vote like a little marionette, and you're just, puppeteering people around. Feels so good. And you're walking around being like, I'm pretty good at this, aren't I? As soon as you get to tribal council and you feel the intensity of that place, and you realize that somebody is about to walk out of there and it'll be donezo for good for them. that's when you start to get that feeling in your gut, like, oh, this doesn't feel as good as it did when I was in the jungle like 2 days ago. Like, this really sucks now. So
like, that's the best part.
It is the best part, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to kind of like when you got back, So when you got back from the show, what was the hardest part about returning home and trying to go back to normal?
I think, there is something weird initially about the idea that like it's 26 days. We're really gone for like almost 6 weeks. It's like, over a month and a half, maybe. And that's not a huge chunk of time for people at home. But it feels like you've lived a whole lifetime when you get back. Like this, it is such an immersive, out of body, different experience that it becomes your life in many ways, especially if you're like me and you play all the way to the end. I mean, I was in a hammock with Rachel, tossing back a coconut, playing like rugby and thinking about Final Tribal Council and just like goofing off, saying our goodbyes to the island. And within 24 hours, I was in the United States with a cell phone in my hand and like it kind of expected to go back to the real world. We finished Final Tribal Council. I get hit with the idea that I lost, that I didn't win the game. You go back to Ponderosa and people were kind of like already winding down for the evening. By the time we got back, it was like 3 a.m. And I woke up the next morning and they were like, all right, grab your bags. We're about to go to the airport. And you're on a flight and you're back in the States. And it's like that. And so I think some people who like are at Ponderosa a little bit longer, they have a week or whatever to really debrief. I think they feel a sense of finality once the Final Tribal Council wraps up and they're ready to go home. I don't feel like I ever got the closure that I needed. I never really felt like I got an explanation, like why didn't I get the votes that I needed to win the game? What happened? How did you see it differently than me? And so you're kind of forced to just go back to the world without those answers for a little bit. And so that can be very hard, as well as the idea, like I said, you just lived this life, right? This alternate life. And not only does nobody else know about it and know what you went through, and they can't feel it like you felt it, you can't even really tell people about it. It's a secret for a while. And then, you have to
for quite a while, right? Like, what is it, like 3 months?
Yeah. And I was on the early side of it. Like we got back in early July and we didn't air until September. So it was like 2.5 months for us. But even so, it was, even so, like even with if you were on an even season, if you were on season 48, or think about like the people that filmed season 50, they got back months ago and that thing won't even start airing until February. Like it's a completely different world that you can't even let the rest of your world in on for months and months and months. So that is an incredible challenge. And then I think I struggled as well with managing relationships and trying to, I did wrestle for a while, I can't lie, with like this idea of, I want to be friends with all of these people that I played the game with. And I want to share this camaraderie with them. And I really like some of them. And as nice as they are to me, as complimentary as they are to me, it's very hard to believe them when none of them wrote your name on parchment the last day. And so, I'd have people coming up to me being like, dude, you did so good. You're like a brilliant player. Like man, I really love you, man. You're just great. And that's great. It's great to hear. And you kind of have to ask yourself, like, but can I let this go? And I think that loomed over a lot of my relationships for the longest time, is feeling a little bit of resentment for that. And then trying to get those answers about what happened and trying to find my way to that closure. And you're doing all of that while you're just back in the real world and have to pretend like nothing happened. And that's a kind of psychologically challenging.
Yeah. I can't imagine. It's one of the reasons why it's just like so compelling, this game. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I really like this question. Did you ever catch yourself putting on an act, trying to be the version of yourself you thought Survivor wanted? Earlier, you said that you knew the game you wanted to play, but did you ever, if you're like, I don't know, the producers think I'm like, maybe like they think I'm like this guy, so I need to act like that guy.
I really don't think so. I really think one of the things I'm most proud of my time out there was it was really authentically me, and it was many different versions of me. Um, but I think people in my life who know me and knew me before I went out there saw different me's playing the game, and there was this hyper competitive, a little bit vengeful version of me when I was done wrong by somebody. There was this sort of confident and fun, kid-like, childish version of me that was just like having the best time. And I think that there was also this emotionally vulnerable version of me, and the part of me that was a little bit romantic and a little bit sappy and a little bit reflective. And I think I was all of those things at once, and I had different versions of them come out at different times, but I'm very proud of the way that I feel like I was authentic to myself the whole way.
Absolutely. I think you played a great game, man. I really enjoyed you. And I said this to Gabe too. It's like the more I watch Survivor, I tend to realize that I tend to enjoy people that remind me of myself, or, that I could just be friends with in real life. And age has nothing to do with it. I mean, I look at like I have Mama J coming on from in a couple weeks, and I'm so excited to talk to her.
That's my girl. She's the best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She lives in Nashville. We're both in Nashville. So yeah, we're very close friends.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I got Austin coming on. I'm just really excited. But all right, so let's move on. So what was the very first thing you did once you got home after the game ended? How did it feel? Did you take a shower? Were you like like what was the first thing?
I think I got back very late at night. It was late. So honestly, the very first thing is I did like a full dump of a story to my fiance about like day 1 to 26. Here's everything that happened, and here's like just as detailed as possible from my eyes about what I just went through. And it's unloading a lot on somebody, but I wanted her to be able to understand. And I guess this ties back into your last question a little bit too, but I wanted her to be able to understand as much as possible. Like, hey, I'm not doing okay right now. I'm not doing very well. And I hope that by me laying all of this out for you, you can understand as much as possible why. And that was another thing I struggled with, was just this idea, like I said, it's not that much time for the people that are back at home. Like they get into routine, we all know what it's like. A month can kind of go by very quickly once you get into a routine of things. And so I think people are like, all right, you left this way. I can't wait to have you back. And what they don't necessarily prepare themselves for is that you're not coming back the same person that you were when you left. You're coming back a different version of yourself, and a lot has happened to you, and there's a lot that you're still trying to deal with. So just because I'm home doesn't mean that I'm like I was before I left. It's going to take some time for me to get back there. And so I think the first thing that I tried to do was just like tell her everything so that she could ask questions, so that she could try to understand it as much as possible. And then I tried to get back into routine. I think I waited like 2-3 days before I went back to work. I was back to work really quick. The next day even before we left Fiji, I was at the resort. I was doing a workout with Saul. Like I was trying to lift weights, and that's not what most people would do. They'd be like, let me eat a bunch of food and relax. I was like, all right, I have nothing in my body, but I want to lift weights and get back to working out. And so I got back home and I ate the same meals that I normally eat. I went to Chipotle. I ate healthy. I went to the gym. I got a workout in. I tried to take care of myself as much as possible and feel like Sam again.
So you got back into it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I jumped all the way in. I didn't have like a.
How long did it take you to tell your fiance everything? I mean, I'd imagine that's got to take a while.
It was like a 5-hour, probably like straight me talking conversation, and then it's I forgot this. Oh, I forgot this. Oh, I forgot this throughout the next week. Like it doesn't ever really end when it comes to some of those stories. And the biggest thing is like, I wish I could have been writing stuff down as the game was going on. Cause there's things even now I'll talk to somebody about the game and they'll bring up something and I'm like, that's a memory that I forgot that I had. But like, yeah, that did happen. Oh, wow.
It would be cool if you guys could like bring your own, like just little journal and just like write in it. But I get that like,
yeah, they give you one during pregame. So my whole journal was just like a flow of consciousness, like describing everything under the sun at the resort before the game started and all of my thoughts. I was just word vomiting on a page to give me something to do. And then, yeah, I remember feeling like a lot of emotion about, wow, this is so cool. Like, not just that I'm doing this and like that this is Survivor and this is what Survivor's really like. This is insane. But also, like, look how beautiful this place is. And there's a bunch of frogs everywhere and the sun is setting and I'm drinking a guava flavored soda. And I wanted her to know everything and I wanted to be able to share all of that. So I wrote everything down. And I wish the game would have been, I just wish there was a way to like write every little bit of it down.
And I get why you don't have one during the game because you could, remember things and whatever. But
pass notes to people, do all kinds of stuff.
You could take a stick, you could write like in the sand,
it'll wash up pretty quick probably. But yeah, worth a shot.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned. I know you're close with Saul too. I also have Saul coming on. I'm really excited to talk to him because I know he's going to be a dad soon.
Yes, he is. I remember Saul told me that. Yeah, it's just Saul. Yeah, I'm gonna let Saul speak for Saul, but he's the best. He's just an absolute gem of a human, and that'll be a
what's crazy
podcast.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is that I don't know. Saul reminds me of someone I know, but like I don't know anyone like him.
Like I can tell you, I've never met anybody like Saul. That is for sure. Saul is so one of a kind, but he is.
My God, him and his and Rome's beef. I was just
okay, and I'll say that was a really fun one for me too. Because we had heard the stories about it. I think that's a really underrated part of watching the episodes back. I was obviously, like I said, very fortunate. I got a lot of content. I had my story shown. And so watching stuff play out and seeing myself on TV was so cool. But another really cool part was like, you hear these stories of Saul versus Rome. And like, I remember after we voted Rome out, Saul would talk about like, man, like he followed me around the island and he just like wouldn't stop following me while I was trying to look for an idol. And I'm just like, what? That's crazy. And then the episodes come out and we get to see this story that we've had told to us. It's like when you read a book and it's such a great book. And then they come out with a movie adaptation that's brilliant. And you're like, finally, a visual version of what I've only been able to picture in my mind for so long. That's what watching the other tribes is like. And it's trippy, but it's very cool. People too now who are like, by the time the show airs, I'm like, yeah, Saul is just my friend. And now I get to actually go watch my friend be on Survivor while I also get to watch myself. So that's a very fun part of it.
Mm-hmm. So has the game changed the way you argue, love, or forgive? And this might sound like kind of a corny question, but like, because like obviously it's a game, right? But like,
yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot more than a game. I can tell you that. Like, it is a game, but like when a game is also your life for so long, everything is personal, whether you want it to be or not. And so for me, like, yeah, it didn't change the way like I argue or I love, but it definitely changed the way that I forgive. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. I really wrestled with having resentment for people, having resentment for, and it's so silly because like the people who I'm sitting there being like, you didn't vote for me to win the game are also people that I voted out of the game. And like, they could very easily do the same thing to me and be like, oh yeah, you want to be my best friend, but you voted me out. Like that doesn't make much sense. And so I wrestled with that for a while. I wrestled with watching things on TV and wanting other people to get their flowers, but also wanting to make sure that I got recognized for what I was really proud of and feeling like those things were mutually exclusive. And so the simplest answer is I think it has taught me to forgive a little bit more and to be willing to not like, I went into the game a very vengeful person. I was aware of that. Like I'm not a person that causes conflict. I'm very conflict averse, but if you have conflict with me, I will go to no end to burn you. I will prove you wrong. And I knew that was a personality trait of mine, and that's how I played the game. And I think I came away from it understanding that my success doesn't need to be mutually exclusive of somebody else's success. And my relationship with somebody doesn't need to be tied to their actions in a game. And so if I can sit there and I can apologize to somebody for voting them out and genuinely mean it, then they can tell me that they admired my gameplay but didn't vote for me and genuinely mean that as well. And I can sit there and watch Rachel, who's one of my best friends, like get all of this credit for playing such a brilliant game and have everybody say she's so deserving of this win. And that doesn't take away from me or who I am or what I've done. And I think for a while I viewed those things as contradictions of each other. That if you liked Rachel's game and were rooting for Rachel, that means that you were rooting against me. And it took a while for me to, like, I guess, mature enough to just like through that experience to realize that this is a friend of mine who I care about, like, and I should want to see her succeed the same way I want to see myself succeed. And I think once I got to a position where I realized that both can be true, it just became such a more beautiful experience because I get to see myself succeed. I get to see my friends succeed. I get to play a great game and do really well and come away with great friends. And I get to genuinely like bury any of those feelings and move on from it. And I think that has carried over into my life to not harbor resentment for things that I typically would have before.
Yeah, that was a really good answer. I remembered, by the way, what I was going to ask, or not really ask. I was going to say something, and we were talking about how, you know, you hear these stories, but then you get to see them from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
So over the summer, we had just a big party out back here, and I had I had my camera set up. We had like a whole karaoke like thing. So I set up my camera over there for the night and just recorded for like 2.5 hours throughout the day, you know, and like I was other places, like over at the party over there and whatever. And then looking at the footage the next day, it was so cool watching it because like I wasn't there, like I had gone off somewhere, but I'm seeing like what happened.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of like how you just described that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's the actualization of something that seemed fake because you only had a picture of it in your brain for the longest time.
Yeah. Moving on. So this must have been a really, really fun moment for you. So when you watched the 47 premiere, what was it like watching your story air on TV? Did it feel accurate, surreal, maybe something in between? I actually just was looking at your Instagram earlier, and I think you had just posted a picture recently of a throwback from when you were there.
Yeah. So I had a party in Nashville. I spent a while, most of like the 2-month gap, planning it and trying to find a venue, trying to make a guest list. And Nashville's not exactly the easiest place to do something like this. You know, if you live in a smaller town, you can just probably go to the local bar and have them shut it down for you. Nashville bars don't really close down for private events all that often. They've got other business to take care of. So it was difficult, but I found a venue. It was a really sweet, like speakeasy vibe. I got them to open up the bar and have an open bar for guests. So I invited friends, family, coworkers. I invited the Titans players. There's like a handful of players on the
cool.
There's a handful of players on the Titans that like love Survivor. So I would talk to them about it in the locker room, be like, hey, come to the party. And so a handful of them showed up, and it was an awesome night. It was so cool, so surreal, so I don't know. I get like emotional. Plus, like, when I think of every premiere is a bit emotional for me to watch because it takes me back to just like that feeling and how joyful and like nerve-wracking it was all at once. But that was very, very cool.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how nerve-wracking it must be too, just because you don't know what your edit looks like at all.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to be in the show, so that's and you don't like, and I do feel bad. And again, this is why I'm very grateful for I got content. I got confessionals. I was shown on the screen. Like I was a bigger character of the season. Because I do feel bad for people who throw those same parties and aren't really featured in the first episode, or their story's not being told, and they're just as excited as I was to watch those episodes. So I definitely don't take that for granted. But it was very cool. A lot of people who just like didn't even know what the show was at all, who I had a couple people that I worked with that kind of scoffed at the idea that like I did the show, and they were like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. But then like I was throwing this big party for it. They're like, what? You're throwing a big party? Why are you throwing this? Like they thought it was all a little bit silly. And so with so many people showing up and to actually see how epic of a show and an experience it was, everybody left being like, that's pretty cool that you did that. Like, that's pretty awesome. And so, and it helped, of course, that we went to tribal council in the first episode. So there was some nerves along the way, but we did the whole shebang. We did the challenges. We got to cast a vote. It was a great episode. Great night.
That's awesome. I can't imagine. I'm so happy for you, man. Like, I really honestly do love you, dude. Like, you're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you.
Well, let me tell you this: when you have your premiere party, you got to get me an invite, and I'll come.
Yeah, absolutely. You ever been to New York? You been to Syracuse?
I've been to. I think I've driven. I've been to a. Yeah, I actually have. I've been to a Syracuse Chiefs game before.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I've been to the baseball before, but that's about it. I think I drove through. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not too much going on around here. We have some really bad winters. I'll tell you that. Like the snow.
How close are you? Close to Buffalo?
Yeah. So I know Andy's from Buffalo.
Yeah, me and Andy went to Buffalo together. We drove New York City up to Buffalo with me, Andy, Gabe, and Genevieve did that drive, and it was gorgeous. So
there is a lot of.
I don't need an excuse to get back up that way. So you gotta go ahead and get on the show now, so I can come up there.
I'm so excited just thinking about that. I love it. All right, let's move on. So how has Survivor shaped the opportunities, relationships, or even career moves in your life since? Or maybe they haven't. Or so how have they or haven't they?
For me, it was definitely helpful and productive. Obviously, when you get some like any even little bit of public notoriety on social media, things like that. I work in media, so that's always like a nice boost to gain a little bit of a following. But also within, like I said, I had kind of established a reputation for myself already in the city of Nashville for the sports media scene and the work that I had done here. And I think it gave a little bit of credibility to me, weirdly, because it's not related at all. But I just remember like I would tune into local Nashville sports radio, and on ESPN radio, they're sitting there. They're like, "Oh, hey, yeah. By the way, it's Wednesday. Titans reporter Sam Phalen, one of our buddies, he's on Survivor tonight. Go check it out." And people, it kind of became a talking point. It kind of became a thing. I remember talking to the Titans head coach about it. He acknowledged it during one of our media sessions, and he's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So I think it was just the thing that people were able to really rally behind, and helped me get my name out there, which was productive for my career. As far as like opportunities and stuff go, you never really know where you're going to meet a Survivor fan. And I think that's a really fun thing. I've made some friends, both in my field and not in my field, that watch the show, that are into the show. We've gotten to do a lot of really fun, random stuff as a cast together, because of Survivor, and somebody watches the show. Like we were just this summer, we were at a Bare Naked Ladies and, fastball concert and having the time of our life because the lead singer of the band is a big Survivor fan, and he had us backstage and had us come out for the show. And so there's stuff like that exists, and you get to do
that. Is so cool.
And you get to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys you deserve it 100%. That's so cool. Do you get recognized often or not so much? It's maybe, lessening
I think I get it less than most people, mainly because I think I look a lot different now than I did on the show. Like I've got facial hair now. I didn't have a beard on the show. I've kept it since I got back. I also live in Nashville, which is a city where like you go to the grocery store and you see a Grammy Award winner. Like why
didn't you have a beard on the show?
I had never grown one before.
You just never,
yeah, I was always like afraid to get past like the ugly phase of growing a beard. And so
it's all right. I'm still there. I'm 34.
I mean, hey, this isn't spectacular by any means, but I went in clean shaven, and then I kept being like, I probably look so bad, and Rachel kept telling me every day, she's like, no, you look so good, like the beard looks awesome, like Hannah's gonna love it, it's great. And then I got back home, and my wife was a little apprehensive about it at first. She had never seen me like that, and honestly, the real reason I didn't shave is I had lost so much weight. I lost like 30 pounds. Oh. And so I was like, my face was so skinny, and I could tell how skinny my face had gotten. And I was, when I was in high school, I was very like thin. I was very small. I was tall, but lanky. And it really wasn't until college athletics that I put on muscle and like started working out and getting in the gym and putting on a lot of meat. And so I had slimmed all the way down, and I was lanky. I was just bones again. And I'm sitting here like, if I shave, I'm going to look like I'm in high school again. I can't do that. So I had to keep it. And I just ended up keeping it long enough that I was kind of like, hey, you know what? I kind of like it. And it hasn't gone anywhere since. So I think because of that, I don't get recognized a ton. I think I also don't have very like distinguishable features. If you walk around with like Saul or Andy or Gabe or whatever, like they've all got hair, or Saul's wearing a bedazzled vest and sunglasses or something like.
Dude, his style is off the walls. I love it.
He had the whole room looking at him at my wedding. Saul was stunning at my wedding. They get it a lot more than me. Plus, like I live in, like I said, Nashville. Nashville is sort of a city known for, hey, we're not going to talk to people that we recognize because there's somebody everywhere. And so you don't usually say something to the person that you see. So if I go out when I'm in New York or I'm in LA, we definitely get it a lot more than when I'm at home.
Yeah. Awesome. So what was your coping mechanism? So when shit started to go sideways and south, and you're just like, you're down, like in the worst mindset, what kept you
in the game or outside of the game?
Oh, both.
Yeah, in the game, I think you had to remember your why was the big reason. That was one of the things I kept writing in my journal before the game. It was just like, remember why you're here, because this is gonna suck. Like, you are signing up for suck. You're signing up to freeze. You're signing up not to eat and starve and to be wet 24/7 and to have things not go your way and not be able to trust anybody. That's what you signed up to do. That's what you begged for an opportunity to do. And remember why you wanted it so bad. And so I think kind of bringing myself back into the headspace of like, why am I here was enough reason for me to get up and do it and get on to the next thing and keep on keeping on. Outside of the game, I think it was just really like leaning on the support system that I had in place. And, my wife obviously was huge in that. And she was just like an angel at letting me get it out and letting me not be okay and letting me deal with it how I need to deal with it. I spent a lot of hours on the phone talking to castmates. Rachel was huge for me. And you're in a weird spot when you're a finalist because you want to complain a lot about stuff. You want to complain about the edit not showing this, or what this person's saying about you on Reddit, or this podcast didn't acknowledge me, or they said something mean about me. You want to complain about it, and it's hard to complain. I found it hard to complain to people that I had it better than, so to speak. It's difficult to complain about how they don't show what I said in episode 10 when I'm complaining to somebody that was eliminated in episode 9. And so it's sort of like you feel very entitled. And the only person I felt comfortable airing out grievances to was Rachel. And I think vice versa for her, because we were in that same spot. And that kind of brings me back to what I was saying earlier about like, if she would complain to me about something that she had seen that she didn't like, that bothered her, I had to sort of get in this headspace of like being
empathetic.
We had to have this conversation of like, hey, it's like we had to say how we both felt. We had to be very honest with one another. We had to then also be empathetic and realize that like, hey, my success is not mutually exclusive of your success, and why can't we both be like supported and celebrated and help each other get the credit that we deserve? And I think that was huge for both of us to sort of get through and lean on each other during that time, because it's the only person that I spent all 26 days with, like throughout the entire game, from the starting tribe to the very end.
Yeah. Speaking of the very end, your fire making showdown, that was something, man.
Yeah. Oh man.
Some will say it's wind. I mean, do you say it's wind? Like, what's the whole deal with that?
You know, I obviously wind was like a factor. You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
How long did it take? Sorry to interrupt you. How long was the whole? If you had, I
don't know. I really don't know. I don't think it was more than like 10 minutes for like the whole thing. You know, it goes pretty quick. Here's what I will say. I do believe like the wind is obviously a factor. I will say it was a factor that I also had to deal with. Mm-hmm. I think it's a little bit, I do think it's silly, and Jeff didn't help with his commentary on it, was like the idea of like, oh, the wind is blowing Teeny's fire away from the rope and Sam's into the rope. That's not the case. And I think if you go and you watch the fire making challenge, you can actually see my fire is also like tilted because of the wind. I just think the wind was timely for me. Certainly Teeny was about to break the rope, it was so win.
Close. It was crazy.
And had the wind not kicked in right when it did, Teeny wins the fire making contest, no doubt about it. So the wind did give me extra time. I do feel like I accounted for the wind with where I set up my fire. And I think that's a big reason why I was still able to burn the rope even once the wind was blowing both flames. But an absolutely crazy, like I get kind of chills thinking about it and trying to put myself back into my body there, because it was just the ultimate adrenaline rush. That is,
I just caught myself and I'm like, I just asked you that question. I'm like, you're not going to remember how long it felt like no. You're just zoned in. Like
it truly was like, it was this weird, self-reflection moment as I'm sitting there striking it, because I'm not getting flame, and the entire time I'm not getting flame, you are having those thoughts about, all right, I'm about to be out, like this is how it's going to end, and I'm okay, and I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to give it my very best, but you know, you're making your peace with it,
right?
And you go from sort of like this very introspective making your peace with it to like, once that first little bit goes and you get that baby flame, it's just a total adrenaline rush. And I will say, from the moment that I think I hit my first like baby flame to the moment I burned the rope was 35 seconds. Like it went so quick once I got something going, and it was just all chills from there.
Mm-hmm. Closing out this, so if you could only pass along one lesson from your own game that future Survivor players should take with them, what would it be?
I don't know if it's a lesson from my game specifically, but I think one of the lessons that I would say is, you are probably sitting here going into the game and you're sitting here thinking, I can do that. I can lie to people. I can cut their throats. I can manipulate. I've got no problem doing that. And that's true. I'm not going to say you can't, but what I will tell you, future Survivor player, is everybody else on that cast can too. And there's a reason they're on the TV show. And remember that these people are the 18 people out of 40,000 that applied that got selected for the show. Don't underestimate them. Like, don't underestimate their ability to outplay you. Don't underestimate their ability to talk bad about you in confessionals and talk a big game. Like, they're on the TV show for a reason. And once you realize that these are TV characters that the show put out there for one reason or another, I think you can start to like accurately assess your competition. I don't think I realized that until Sierra got voted out, which was the first time I didn't have control of the game. I had control of the game through 15 days. I had absolute total control of everything that happened through 15 days. I had the idol. I had all the information. I had all the allies. I decided who went home. It was great. And then I kind of got this gut punch of like, oh, all those people were lying to me. And that hit me for the first time. Is all those people that I thought I got along really well with. I thought Saul and I hit it off. I thought Teeny and I hit it off. I thought Genevieve and I hit it off. And all three of them just voted against me and blindsided me and didn't tell me what was going on. It's because they're capable too, and they're great players too, and there's a reason that they're on the TV show. So remind yourself of that and remember that, and don't sell anybody short.
That was such a good answer. And like, just because they can do that also doesn't make them a bad person. None of you guys are bad people.
yeah, no. And so I think
you guys are just doing it, like you said, like for your why. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're there for a reason. Everybody wants that $1 million check.
Yeah, and that's part of the don't take everything so personal lesson that I think everybody has to learn at some point. And I think you'd be much better off coming away from the game if you allow yourself to get there.
Absolutely. All right, let's end it off with some fun questions.
Sure.
What's your absolute go-to movie theater snack combo?
Oh, this is a hot take. I eat Mike and Ike's. I go.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know that's yeah. I don't tell. Yeah, I'm unapologetic. No, screw it. I'm unapologetic about it. Mike and Ike's rock. I do one box, sometimes two of Mike and Ike's before I go, and I will do popcorn and Mike and Ike's. Get a little bit of both sometimes, but yeah, that's it. That's
salty
my
and
candy.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't do drinks. I'll stick to like water or whatever. But yeah, Mike and Ike's and water. Just real interesting movie theater combo.
No, I like that. I honestly I was like, I don't know. Is he a chocolate guy? Like, what's he gonna?
No, I do prefer. I'm not a huge chocolate person in general. I'll do like dark chocolate I enjoy, but especially movie theater. But most of the time, if I'm in a candy aisle, I'm going for like a fruity candy of some kind.
I like that. I used to be, when I was a kid, dude, I was obsessed with Skittles. Skittles like were my shit.
I like Skittles. Skittles, like I don't like how they make my hands feel. And that is why I avoid Skittles at all costs now. But yeah, I don't know. Mike and Ike's, the texture, I love a good Mike and Ike.
That's a good one. All right, this is kind of out there, but what's the most out of pocket situation you've ever accidentally walked into?
Yeah, I don't know if like instant regret is a thing, or I didn't even necessarily walk into it. I did tell the story to some people on the island. They thought it was crazy. I was once beat in the head with a hammer by a homeless man while I was working valet. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was crazy.
How did that not make the edit? You said that on the show?
I told people about. I don't know if I ever did a confessional about it.
Oh my gosh.
I was in college. I was working valet in Nashville. I was just like downtown. And I was by myself. I had a partner, but like we were kind of off hours, and one lady came out of the event early. And so I was like, hey, I got it. I'll go grab her car. No need to come outside. So my partner stayed inside. I went back, grabbed this lady's car, drove it up to the front. I was going to get her keys. And I saw this guy kind of like walking towards me. I was like, okay, sure. Hey, he's just walking. Pulled a hammer out of a bag and just smashed me in the head with it for no reason. It was crazy.
Dude.
Yeah. So that's wrong place.
Did you go to the hospital?
For sure. Yep. Yeah. They call
or
they called the ambulance. I had like a pretty bad concussion. They sewed my head back up. And
did they ever discover the motive of this crazy homeless man?
No, we think it was just like a random rage crime because he did do it to somebody else later that same night.
Oh my God.
And they got him, and he went to jail. So nice. Wow. But yeah, it was.
Dude, I wasn't wild. Expecting that. So
I know.
Holy shit!
I'm sorry to get like weird and dark.
No, I love it.
That was the first thing that came to mind.
I've got a crazy story to come back with on this next one. So everyone's got a strange sleep story. I feel like everybody does. So what's the most bizarre thing you've done in your sleep, or someone's told you've done?
I don't do weird things in my sleep. I like when I was a kid, I did like sleep walk a little bit.
Okay.
Just a few times, like my dad would say that I would like randomly sleepwalk when I was a kid. And it's boring, but yeah, I don't feel like I do any weird stuff in my sleep usually.
I mean, sleepwalking strange. I'll give you that. I mean, it's strange.
It's just I was like 8.
So. Right. True. I did the same thing, and I remember once I was like, it's funny. I was like 8 years old, 9, 10 years old or something, and I like would go out in the kitchen and I just pee in the garbage can for some reason.
Okay, that's crazy. I've done that. That was that. No, that was my sleepwalking story, and I didn't want to say it because I was like, oh man. Like I'm like maybe TMI, but yeah, like that my dad like would wake up and I was up, and then in my dream or whatever, I'm going to the bathroom. And so I thought I was going to the bathroom, and then he said I just like pulled out the kitchen garbage can in the kitchen and I just like peed and then put it back and went to bed.
That is so funny.
Yeah, that was my story too. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna. I tried to leave it as sleepwalking, but since you said that, I had to.
Yeah, I'm practicing. Like I gotta just get everything out there. You know what I mean? Can't hide anything when I'm out there on the show.
That's perfect.
My crazy sleep story is that one night I got out of bed and dove through my second story window and went and hit the ground like from the second story.
That's a very rude way to wake up.
Yeah, in my sleep. So
that's miserable. Were you injured?
I was not injured. So night before, like nothing crazy out of the ordinary. I was having a beer and watching Fear the Walking Dead. Went to sleep at like 11 o'clock. And then honestly, dude, that's the last thing I remember. I mean, I fell asleep and then I remember waking up as I dove through the window, like as the glass broke. I remember like waking up, I like hit this awning right out, like the upper level awning, and then just roll off of the awning like 15 feet onto my back. And I'm just like looking up and I'm like, I was just sleeping. You know, when you wake up and you're just like, you're just like, oh, you're just slow.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, imagine
that's
that.
Terrifying.
And dude, I was just in my boxers. Like and luckily, I mean, I had some scrapes. Like I've got a scar on my back that's not that big, but like I had some cuts here and there, but like nothing crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And I land on my back and I'm just looking up. And then my wife at the time sticks her head out the window and she's like, Aaron, oh, and you know, she just started screaming. I'm like, what is going on? So the cops came. The police station was actually like right around the corner. The cops are knocking at the door. It's like 2 a.m. I'm upstairs in the shower, blood everywhere, like trying to like wash myself off. The doorbell rings. It's like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, who the f is at the door? So I go downstairs. It's the police. They're like, hey, we just heard a window break. Is everything okay? And I'm like, I just dove through the window in my sleep.
That's crazy.
Cops are like, what? So they immediately separate us.
I thought you were kind of talking about a broke or like an open window. You just went through the window.
Fucking Supermaned through the window.
Oh my god.
It's crazy.
The cops are doing a full investigation.
And listen, like full on transparency, like no, I wasn't on drugs or anything. Like I literally, like I said, I had a beer the night before, nothing out of the ordinary. So the cops came, they immediately separated my wife and I, and they were like, are you guys like fighting? Are you on drugs? Like what? They just don't believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
That's wild. Yeah, that certainly trumps my my pee story.
It's, you know what? It's an icebreaker. Like you've got, hey, I was on Survivor. I've got, hey, I dove through a window.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Sam, let's wrap it up there, man. I had such a fun time chatting with you. Seriously. Like this was honestly
fully on the back end of it, circling back to my comments from the beginning. This is so fun and answering a lot of questions that I don't know if I've even thought about since like the initial time when I first got back from the island. So very, very fun, creative, unique podcast. I had an absolute blast.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, that honestly means a lot because I took a lot of time into thinking about like, you know, what can I do that's not, and it really interests me. Like I'm just really into that psychological, like human aspect, like we were talking about earlier. And it's just crazy what a TV show can do to people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a really human experience, and as accurate as the edit could be, even if it was just like straight and narrow, right down the line, exactly what happened, it doesn't capture the human feeling of the entire journey. And so I think that is something that can be lost from player to fan, and, you know, can be lost when people are talking about the show and can be very critical of obviously players. And, you know, to each their own. Enjoy the show, watch it, you know, criticize. That's what makes it great. But it definitely is, I think, interesting and important for players who either want to be on the show or fans who care deeply about the show to hear this side of it as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Sam, again, thank you, man. And, you know, if you're ever down in the future, I'd love to have you on again and chat more.
Dude, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Awesome. We'll talk to you later.